Hello. Hello, friends. Welcome to Move Into Coherence. I'm Pamela Stokes. In our episode today, I will be starting with a 3-part motion that we can do together. And this will help us to get into a listening and learning mode and to find some ease in the body. And then we will be doing an EFT tapping meditation. It's an active meditation that you'll be joining in on, call and response. And this one is for not enough. And this is a pretty predominant feature of the people that I work with, and I had this myself, and I think it's something that is a really important part of being human on this planet, that we have the tendency to feel this way, if not just sometimes, maybe even all the time. So let's get into it. We'll start by doing the motion. This motion is in 3 parts, and I like to call it waking and shaking. And that's because that's what we do. We'll be doing a motion called waking up, and then we'll be doing something that is called the tongue, and it's a very simple one. And then we'll be doing a quick shake. So if you would please join me in standing up, and we will do this motion, this 3-part motion. Here we go. Thanks for being here. So we'll bend our knees and bring them towards each other. We'll bend our elbows, and then we'll curl our back and drop our head. Get small. And then slowly let your legs get long, let your belly get long, let your arms get long. Tip your head up, look up, reach up, and then let your arms float down by your sides. Take a breath here, and then we'll repeat that. So the knees come in, the elbows bend, curl your back, drop your head. And then slowly, legs get long, belly gets long, arms get long. Reach up, look up, and then the arms come floating down by your sides. And then we'll do the tongue. This one's pretty simple. All you're doing is you're pressing the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth. So press up gently, and then slowly release the tongue. And this softens the digestive tract. You may have noticed that there was a sort of a softening that happened for you. And that's really a helpful one if you ever feel anxious or nervous, or you have a feeling in your belly of nervousness. And now we'll do the shaking. So all you're going to do is you're going to start wagging your tail like you're a happy dog. So we'll wag the tail. And I know it's a little silly, but thank you for joining in. And let the arms and legs be wiggly. And then let that wiggle move all the way up the spine to the top of the head. And pause here, and then loose lips. And that one's the quick shake. And that's our 3 parts. Thanks for joining in. I appreciate you. So the things I wanted to say were, first of all, to talk about this not enoughness. Let's make sure that you can hear me all right. I've got a lot of background noise today. They are doing some work across the street, which is very loud. So if I could just get a thumbs up from somebody in the audience today who just let me know if you can hear me all right. Wonderful. Thank you so much for responding. And hi to I see Galen's here and Melissa's here. I appreciate you. Thank you. So this not enoughness, we're going to be releasing that today. And the way we're releasing that is using a process called EFT, which is emotional freedom techniques. And last week I talked about this as one of the trainings I've had. And I think I said energy freedom techniques, which is not exactly true. It's emotional freedom techniques is what the EFT stands for. Now, the reason why I brought this up today is because it is a very common feeling and belief that we have that we're not enough. We're not enough in some way. For example, not smart enough, or we're not good enough at something, or you fill in the blank. There's a lot of them. And I was just thinking about this as when people come to me, I like to think of them in terms of they're coming to find their own way. They're coming to find their own healing. And oftentimes what we see is that there was something that led up to that need. And I liken them to the canary in the coal mine. In other words, when you put a canary down in the coal mine and the canary dies, it tells you there's something bad in the coal mine, right? Well, people who are coming to me to find relief from their issues of pain, or maybe anxiety, depression, maybe there's some physical trauma that they've had and they're trying to release what's happened to the body, in the body, that oftentimes we'll find that something happened in the past, and usually during childhood, our formative years, when something was not helpful. Maybe some unskilled behavior by the parents or by a teacher, or even a friend or a bully at school, something like that, where this has brought you to where you are now. And now you're ready to look at it, but it's not your fault. In other words, we can take the responsibility for how we feel, but the behavior or the words or the traumatic event, that was the coal mine. So you're finding the danger. And I have to applaud you for recognizing this for yourself, that there's something that you want to feel that's different from how you feel already. And I just am so grateful, because as we, as individuals, find ease and comfort in our bodies and our minds and our spirit, life force energy, we are sending ripples out into our world. And this is a time for people to support each other in that growth. And so that's why we're here together. Thank you for being here. So some of the situations, I'm just looking at my notes here, some of the situations that might have led to this belief that we're not enough could be a teacher made a comment, and it was an unskilled comment. It was a remark that maybe they were having a bad day and they said something not so kind, or maybe they're just not kind people. And this started to bring the belief into reality for us. Someone in a hierarchy kind of level of authority, like a parent or a teacher, can make these beliefs start. Also, just having parents who are overloaded with work, and maybe there's many children and there's just not enough attention to go around. Even just something like that can help us to feel this feeling of not enough. It is sort of related to neglect, which is a strong sounding word. But what I mean by that is there's just not enough attention to go around. And so a lot of these issues do come from the not getting enough of our basic human needs met, which is safety, satisfaction, and connection. We talked about that last time, where we as infants should be feeling this. And this is the receiving hands, where we close our hands in soft fists, starting with the pinky, allowing our nervous system to know our basic human needs are met. So this is a good one to start with, and I do it regularly. We can also be in a situation where maybe the parent isn't available because they have an addiction, alcoholism and drug addiction, and even just being gone from the house. Maybe they've got another addiction that you don't see it, like gambling or pornography or something like that, where you don't see it, but they're not available. And in the mindset of a child, if someone drunk or high is trying to communicate with you, you don't feel them fully present. And that can also set this limiting belief up of not enoughness. The old paradigm of children should be seen and not heard, that could be brought in through the lineage that you are in, that perhaps tells you, well, I should just remain quiet because my voice doesn't matter anyway. So even that old paradigm that hopefully is changing as we move into our new earth, with this awakening awareness, let's call it higher consciousness of how we treat each other and how we treat ourselves, we can hopefully break that lineage and start something new. And if you're planning to have children, just remember, these are the things that kind of set us up for adulthood. Of course, if you have a parent that is anxious or depressed, maybe they just really didn't learn how to grow up themselves, so they're kind of childlike, and you've got to take on a parenting role. That can also set up this not enough feeling. Let's see, divorce is also one of the things that really upsets a nervous system, because we are, as a social species, we are meant to be part of a tribe. And when that tribe breaks apart, now we have to wonder, who am I part of? Where am I part of? So a feeling of abandonment can happen. And this is where we get this feeling of not being enough. If there are parents or teachers or even friends or siblings who have narcissistic tendencies, and what I mean by that is someone who is, I would say, in their nervous system, stuck in survival mode. Okay, we can call it narcissistic, but basically it's about self. It's all about self. And this is a survival mechanism. This helps that person feel safe. At least I've got myself. But it disallows them to recognize other and recognize their impact on other. So with a narcissistic parent or a narcissistic partner, as maybe as an adult even, this not enoughness can come about because they're not seeing us. They're not feeling us because they're in their own survival mode, and it's hard for them to have that availability. So if you feel unloved by your parent or your partner or a sibling, just see if we can turn it into some compassion. And that takes some doing. And after this meditation today, this active meditation, you may feel that a little bit differently. These feelings of, they weren't great to be around. And now you can understand that. Let's see what else. So yeah, corporal punishment, physical punishment. This is an old paradigm, part of the old paradigm that it was okay to swat or spank or even beat the children. Well, this is old paradigm. We're ready for something new. It is never okay. It's never okay to hit a child. And what it does is it sets this up. It sets this not enoughness up. So if that's something that you've experienced in your past, this will definitely change that for you. And moving forward, then that was not okay for me. It's not going to be okay for my family and my children. So we're just going to end that right now. Okay, what else? Certainly if there's trauma Trauma, as we talked about last week, is a perceived threat. And what that means for an infant is different from what that means for an adult. And it can be something small. Like for an infant, it can be just simply a loud sound. The nervous system is wired to keep us safe. And so anything that is a perceived threat, we're going to go into that trauma reflex. And then we can get stuck there sometimes. And things can happen in the body where the energy didn't move through and you didn't resolve the trauma. This can also set up this feeling of not enough. There's something wrong with me. So that is also available. Let me see. Oh, and then of course we have, our modern society, which includes governmental rules and laws that are true in one state and not another state, and it gets very confusing. We also, if we had been in the military, they are very, very good at creating this feeling of not enoughness because they need to have power over. They need to tell you what to do and you follow orders, right? So that whole paradigm can create this not enoughness as well. And then we've got the media and social media and, people with really extreme beauty because they've been, let's say, airbrushed with the, in the photos and stuff. And we start to go, gosh, they're so much more attractive than me. And we can do this comparison. Somebody called it comparanoia. And I think it's a great term to describe what we're doing to ourselves. So as we compare ourselves with others and we see, oh, someone's better than me. Well, someone's always going to be better than us. It's just the way it is. And there is no best. There is no perfect. So if we're reaching for perfect, that can also bring on this feeling of not enoughness. And what happens when we feel this feeling of not enough? I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not even worthy of love or happiness. These kinds of feelings, what can create them? We just talked about. And then what happens when we get these feelings, when we have this belief? We become like scared children. We go into a very young part of ourselves and we get very small. And we don't think that we can be bigger, or we should. And the voice keeps playing over and over in our minds and keeps us contained. Well, if we let go of that, just imagine the possibilities. We can create, we can, reach for the stars, we can have dreams, we can be successful in whatever way we feel is important. But if we have this sort of shell around us, this sort of holding us down, this not enoughness, it prevents our growth. So we're kind of like scared children. Another thing that can happen is that we become rejectors because we feel rejected. We feel like we need to be in control. So then we start rejecting. And this can set up serial relationships where you don't want to get too close because you might get hurt, right? We're going to hold on to our safety. But by doing that, we're pushing people away. So we can become rejectors. And we can also become manipulators with this not enoughness. Like you, again, come into this sense of, I've just got to do it myself. Nobody else can do this. I'm just going to be safe here this way. And then I'll get other people to do my dirty work. That can also come from this feeling. So I like to think of the powers that shouldn't be as these people who feel that they're not enough. And so they have to have powers over. And in the work that we're doing, as we raise our conscious awareness of ourselves, as we become more, let's say, full in our lives, living fully, using the energy that's available for us to create and to do amazing things on our planet, this will change, this will shift the whole world, because as more and more and more of us come into that place of seeing no, you don't have power over me. I'm the one in charge. And I do need people. We need people. We're social species. We are interdependent. So we can't just do this alone. And we don't need to set somebody up for failure and have power over them. So this not enoughness can really lead to a lot of big problems in the world. So I'm hopeful that the people that are here today and listening and watching and doing this with me, you'll let that go for yourselves. Maybe this can even spread into people you know, maybe children, or if you're a school teacher or you have work with many people, you could introduce these concepts. And this might be something that we can actually share with the world and make our world the way we want it to be, which is peaceful and loving and cooperative, and all of the things that nature reveals for us is true. That is how nature works. Nature is about creating order, and small things come together and make big things. And this is the law of the universe. And if we go against that and try to do it ourselves and push people away, and that doesn't work. We're going against the laws of nature. So getting more into our enoughness is really going to change the way the world is. So yes, we can change our world. And how do we do that? By addressing our issues. One of the things that I think is important to know, very important to know, is that there is, when we have self-devaluing, there's the possibility of someone coming in and taking charge, right? When we devalue ourselves. So we can be abused repeatedly. And this whole notion of turn the other cheek, it was misinterpreted. Turn the other cheek means I'm going to tell you something that's true. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to turn the other cheek and tell you again, because I need to share with you what's true. And one of those things is the laws of nature, and how it works is that we are a cooperative species. We are creating together. So this self-devaluation can lead to this, trying to be manipulator, but also it is deflating our own body, and our body responds to that. We're going to talk about this further, but there are particles inside of our body that collect energy, and they've been given many different names, and they allow us to make different things in our body, to make bacteria, for example, and viruses, well, not viruses, fungus and yeast, and also cancer. So that's our body doing that. It's in response to the environment. So cancer is nothing that's coming from the outside. It's the way that our body responds, and especially to self-devaluation. So not only is the not enoughness just not okay, like we can be done with that, it's also going to tell the body, oh, everything's okay. And so it doesn't need to make cancer cells. It doesn't need to make bacterial cells and have infections, so-called infections. This is where we have the ability to take charge. We have the ability to take charge of how we feel, how we think, and how our body functions by changing these limiting beliefs. I like to call them limiting beliefs because it's a belief. It becomes so true for us, but it also keeps us small. I think that's about it. Yes. Okay. So when we do EFT, I'd like to just describe EFT a little bit, emotional freedom techniques. This was developed by a person who he had learned about the meridian system, which is the Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, that has the lines which are related to our fascial network, the fascia. And these lines actually communicate to the nervous system that there's energy flow or there's not energy flow, there's something stuck. And so what we're doing with the EFT is we're finding these places. They're called acupoints. These acupoints are the endpoints of meridians, they're also related to the fascial network, which is our communication system, and it also gives us our 3D shape. The fascia is, what I say, fasciating. I love it. It's one of my favorite parts of the body. It's all encompassing. It's pretty amazing stuff. And it's mostly water. And it communicates when we touch an acupoint, which is a place where there's more electrical activity than other places nearby. That's what an acupoint is. When we touch them or tap them, we're doing this gently, not tapping hard, because that would send a scary message. So we want to tap gently. Tapping harder does not make it go in better. I've had to tell some people that they're tapping themselves very, intensely. It's like, no, let's just be gentle here. So we're trying to tell the nervous system we're okay. So the acupoints, they conduct electricity, and they are along these fascial lines, these meridians. And so we're sending electrical charges. We're creating movement by using these acupoints. What we're doing is we're allowing our nervous system to say, I'm okay in this moment. And at the same time, we express the belief that limits us. So we're saying these sort of mean words, and they're true for us. They are the words that are playing in our mind. And I think of it like this, like it's a text message that you get every 5 seconds. It's not very nice, and it just keeps coming in and coming in. So when we use the techniques and we're allowing ourselves to hear the words, and at the same time calming the nervous system using these acupoints, what we're doing is we're making it so those words lose their power. It's pretty fast, and it's very clear when you feel a shift. So what we start with at the beginning before we do the meditation is we will check in. How true does this feel to you? Do you feel something in your body? And we'll give it a rating 0 to 10. And then we'll do the script together. We'll do the meditation together. And then we'll check in again and we'll see, and what's it like now? Oftentimes, people will reduce that number by 3 or 4 or even more, and they'll get the number down pretty low. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to release this thought that comes in, and maybe today you'll get down to a 0. Wouldn't that be great? For myself, when I first was investigating this, before I even had the training, the not enough piece for me was really important. I was in a family that had a lot of children. So, my mother did great. My father did great. And I felt very loved and cared for. And we did lots of nice things together. But there just wasn't enough to go around. They're just, it's just limiting. And then also being in relationship with someone who has severe traumas from childhood, who generated, or because of that had narcissistic tendencies. Being around that person and being around that nervous system for so long made my nervous system believe, and myself believe, that I was not enough. So in my own practice, as I was doing this and releasing this, it allowed me to really explore my capabilities, my possibilities, and to allow myself to dream. And so it basically has brought me here by releasing that not enoughness. It has brought me to this place where I feel confident. I feel calm and confident at the same time. So I know I'm doing good things in the world, and I want to do more. And that's why I'm doing this live, so that I can feel you. And I'm so grateful that you're here with me, because just sitting in my office space by myself is one thing. It's wonderful, but I just really just appreciate, I'm going to say it again. I just appreciate you being here live with me today, because I feel you, and that makes me feel connected. And I hope you get the same sensation too. There are several of us here today, which is wonderful. Okay, so what else do I want to say about that? So yes, we are bringing to to the conscious mind, we are bringing our subconscious mind forward, and we're looking at it and we're saying, thank you very much. Thank you very much for trying to keep me safe. And I'm going to take it from here. I need to be the one in charge. We need to be the masters of our minds, not someone else from the outside, not someone who's going to save us, not a guru. I'm not a guru. I'm not going to save you. You're going to save yourself. And I'm going to help you to know how. But the feeling of the subconscious mind, it's more sensory. It's really only sensory. It's in the body. And so when we get into the body, when we notice the body, that's bringing the subconscious mind forward. So you may notice when you think this thought, I'm not enough, you may feel something in your body. You may notice a tightening. You may notice maybe a place where it doesn't feel alive. That's the subconscious information that's coming forward for you. And we bring that to conscious awareness and then talk to it and use our tapping points to calm the nervous system. They will lose their power. We're the one in charge. We can say, yes, you can still have that thought, but it's not going to hurt me anymore. And then eventually it just kind of goes away. Okay, one of the things I wanted to talk about was the sort of the tree, okay, of how these things manifest themselves. So in the EFT world, they talk about it like a tree where we have the roots and the trunk and the branches and the leaves. The leaves are the symptoms. So we might have, and I'm just looking at my list here, addiction, weight problems, physical pain, self-sabotage, financial issues, procrastination, PTSD, heart problems, illness, all of that are the symptoms, okay? We go another layer down into the branches. Now we're in the emotions, shame, guilt, remorse, rejection, stress, anxiety. And then below that into the trunk, we see the events. And these are our detached parents or bullying or abandonment, abuse, physical punishment, all the things we just talked about, alcoholism, those kinds of things. A bad relationship or a relationship with someone who's not available. And that's events. And then we go all the way to the roots. And in the roots, we find our limiting beliefs. And that's one of these today. I'm not enough. Okay, that's what we're going to be looking at. But there are many of these limiting beliefs that might pop up. So how do we find these limiting beliefs? Well, when we see the symptoms, go a little deeper. What's the emotion under that? Go a little deeper. Is there an event that brought me there? Go a little deeper. Oh, that's that same limiting belief. Again, here it is again for me. So I like to recognize that when we have a trigger, and that word can be triggering, but what we recognize when we have a trigger, it is actually giving us an opportunity to get down to the roots of what it is that we believe that's keeping us in this stuck place. So I like to think of triggers as opportunities for growth, opportunities for change the outcome of that pattern, right? So here's the trigger, what normally happens. And then we can say, well, actually, I want to try something different. We're going to do something different. So when we clear these, or when we address these roots, these limiting beliefs, using these techniques, we can really clear a lot of things. And you see how it's a tree. So you're going to affect all of the branches and the leaves and all of the symptoms. And so our health improves. All right. So that's the tree. And yes, so I wanted to talk about the protocol. So there is a protocol that people do follow, and it includes several points. And I just want to introduce those so that you have them. We don't have to use these points, and some people don't really like using them because it feels mechanical to them, or maybe they have a touch issue where it's hard to do lots of touch all over. So we may just come to one simple Acupoint, and I like to use this one, which is underneath the collarbones, and we just place our hand like this. So some fingers are on one side underneath the collarbone, and the thumb is on the other side underneath the collarbone. This is a really pleasant way to connect with your body and to reach those acupoints. And then you can switch hands during the script, if your arm gets tired. But I'm going to introduce all of the tapping points that are usable and the protocol as well. So we start with the top of the head, right on the crown of the head. And you can do this with me. There's nothing wrong with doing it without words. It's just nice for the nervous system. So just gently tapping on the top of the head, just a few fingers. And then we'll come to between the eyebrows, like the space between the eyebrows. Some people call this the third eye. So just tapping there. And again, this is gentle. We're not trying to push anything in with this tapping. And then on the side of the eye, at the end of the eyebrow here, on the bone that surrounds the eye, you can feel that bone there. That's called the orbit. And we're going to tap right there at the end of the eyebrow. So the side of the eye is what we call that point. And then under the eye, in line with your pupil, again, this is on the bone. There's a bone that your eyeball sits inside of, the orbit. That's where we're going to tap underneath the eye. So that's the under eye point. And then we'll go below the nose in this space here. And so just right there, you can use a couple of fingers underneath the nose, between the nose and the lips. And then underneath the lips here in the crease in your chin, that's another tapping point under the lips. Or the chin, we can just call that the chin point. And then we have the collarbone point. So the ends of the collarbones, they almost meet. There's about an inch of space between them. We're going to drop down below that end and then away from center. So there's kind of a squishy place. That's where we're going, and we can just tap there. And another place is underneath the arm. So we're going to come a hand's width down below the armpit and right on the side of the body. So that's underarm. And that's the general protocol that a lot of people use. So we've got those points. Besides those, we have many other places on the body that are useful for these to connect with the meridians, with the energy system of the body. One of them is on your fingers. So on the what is called the medial side, which is if you have your hands facing you, it's the sides of the fingers that are more towards the center. So any finger right next to the nail bed right here, any of your fingers right there is going to be a good acupoint. So you can use your thumb or your index finger, your middle finger, not the ring finger. That one doesn't have one, but the pinky does. So any one of those fingers except for the ring finger. So we can hold the thumb next to the nail bed on the medial side. That's the side that faces the center of the finger, and we can just tap there or hold there. So that's another place. There's another place on the hand. If you look at your pinky and your ring finger and bring them down to like form a V, and where they would meet maybe about 2 fingers below the webbing, right there on the back of your hand, that's called the gamut point, and that's a nice acupoint to use too. So we can just tap there, or you can hold it. You can also use the side of your hand. Some people call this the karate chop point. And part of the protocol, when we do the beginning phrase, the setup phrase, we can use the karate chop point. We're just using a few fingers to tap the side of the hand. That's the pinky side of the hand. So those are some more points there. The center of the palm is another one. We can tap in there. Below the wrist crease, about 3 finger widths below the wrist crease, we have some more points there on the inside of the wrist. So this is more acupoints there. Oh, there's so many. Also, this one's kind of nice, especially if you've had any kind of sexual trauma or sexual abuse. The hips, I'll show you standing. We're going to just where the top of the leg starts, okay, right there on the side of the body, and we can tap there. So that's another one, just where the thighs begin. And of course, if that's overwhelming for you, don't use that one. But that's a nice one to use specifically for sexual trauma. And there's more down the legs and on the shin, on the front of the leg, on the shin, about midway down. That's another place that you can tap there. So there's a lot of places where you can do this. And and the sternum, the midway down the sternum, the bottom of the sternum. The sternum is the bone that connects the ribs in the front. That's our chest bone or breastbone. And so we can tap in the middle of the sternum, halfway down, or at the tip, at the bottom of the sternum. That's another one there, kind of the solar plexus area. Trying to think if there's any more that are, oh yeah, this one's nice too. So if you bring your hand across your body to the opposite shoulder and just let your fingers kind of reach over into, onto your back. So just a couple of inches, a couple of finger widths onto your back, just there in the middle of your shoulders, sort of the ridge of your shoulders, just hang your fingers over that and then tap back there. So that's another one. You can do 2 hands at once. You can do alternating hands. And that's actually really good too. If you're doing alternating, that you're combining both the right and the left hemispheres. Full brain integration is what we're seeking so that our brain works optimally well. And anytime you cross the body like that, you're getting that information to become more coherent and integrated. All right. Mm-hmm. Yes, so those are all the places. So when we're doing this script, I'm inviting you to go ahead and just try any of the places that I just mentioned, just showed you: side of the eye, under the eye, between the eyebrows, under the nose, under the lips, under the collarbones, side of the body, over the shoulder, the fingers, except for the ring finger. Any of those are doable, usable. And then what I would like to have you know is when these things are being shifted out of the body, basically we're removing the power of the words, right? You're going to hear these words and they might hurt. And you've heard them before, and they hurt then and they hurt now. You might have some response with that. You might have some tears flowing. That's okay. That means there's things moving. So just let the tears come. If they do, let the tears roll down your face. Don't wipe them away. Just let yourself feel that. It's okay. It's really okay to feel. And this is something that I would love for people to know, that it's okay to feel everything you feel. So if it feels scary or if it feels over, like so much, like you're hearing things from your past, you're feeling these things, just let yourself feel it. You're going to be okay. We're here with you together. Okay. And it's just the words. Nothing bad is happening, right, in this moment. So just let yourself keep going with that. Take some nice breaths through the nose, specifically through the nose. We'll talk about that in another podcast, but nose breathing is ideal. It's just the way we were designed. So when we breathe through the nose, nice breath through the nose, we can bring ourselves back to a calm place. You may try tapping a few more points and, trying different points on your body to see how it responds. But there may be some shifting for you and some emotions that come up, and maybe you'll notice sensations in the body. Maybe you will start to tremble. And that's a good thing. We talked about this last week. Anytime you have a trauma, the body needs to have a little trembling. It needs to have a little vibration to come back into a resolved state, into a regulated state. So if you start to feel some shakiness, that's okay too. Yeah, so just let it all happen. All right. Yeah, so I think that's it. And let's go ahead and start this. So finding yourself in a position that's going to allow you to access your acupoints And like I said, you can tap them or you can hold them. You can move from one to another. We're doing this gently. You want to think about how you would treat a little kitten or a little puppy, or both if you have one of each. We're just going to be kind and gentle and tender. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll start with giving it a rating. Okay. And you can do this. And I'd love to see what you find. And if you want to write that in the chat, I'd love to see the numbers that come in. And then we'll see what the numbers are at the end so that we know, what has changed, if that feels comfortable to you. All right. So let's begin. This is our Not Enough Active Meditation EFT Tapping Script. Listen to yourself with the voice that says, you're not good enough. And feel what it feels like to hear it. And give that a rating, how strong it feels or how true it feels. 0 to 10, 10 being the highest. And if you want to put that in the chat, please do. If that doesn't feel right for you right now, that's okay too. And now we'll take 3 calming breaths deep into the lungs and through the nose. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And one more. Inhale. And exhale. And now place your hand on Acupoints, or if you want to use the karate chop points, this is what we would do here for this part. Even though this voice telling me I'm not enough, and you can repeat that after me, even though this voice telling me I'm not enough feels so true, and that hurts so much. I accept how I feel. Even though I really feel like I'm not enough. And if you can say these words out loud, that's really great. This voice inside me feels so intense and so true. I accept how I feel. Even though I feel like I'm really not enough, that voice feels so true and hurts so much. I accept how I feel. And then you can use whatever acupoint you like. Now, some of this has a little bit of humor. I'll warn you in advance. So just take note as it comes in. This voice in my head telling me I'm not enough. It's telling me there's something wrong with me. It's telling me that I'm the problem. That I'm the one who's lacking. And I can see proof of that throughout my life. I notice how exhausting this is. How it drains my energy, my creativity, and my joy. All from the belief that I'm not enough. I'm just not enough. And I'm pretty sure there's no hope for me. What if I'm just not one of the lucky ones? This voice that says, I'm not enough, it hurts so much. Part of me feels so alone. And so sad. And let's take a breath here. Nice breath through the nose, deep into the lungs. This old voice in my head that hurts so much, that I've been hearing for so long. This old voice. What if it's just an old tape I'm replaying in my head? I know this tape. I wonder where I learned this. What if it's not true, though? What if it's never been true? It feels so true. It's felt true for a long time. But maybe it only feels true because I've heard it for so long. Maybe that's why it feels so true. Maybe I actually am enough. It feels scary to even say that. This voice in my head has been with me for so long. Whose voice is it really? Where did I learn these things? When did this voice start? This old voice. I've believed this voice for so long. But what if it isn't true? What if I really am enough? I don't have to listen to this voice. I can talk back. Hey there, mean voice. You're lying. And I'm not listening to you anymore. I am enough. Wherever I learned this, it's time to let it go. It's time to feel safe being enough. And feel the freedom and ease that comes with that. Only I can say I'm enough. I want love, happiness, and success. I want to live my dreams. I am enough for all of that and more. I am worthy. I am enough. Feeling into the feeling of this. Softening into the truth. Feeling this new truth now. Feeling safe enough right now. I am enough. I am safe. It's safe to feel that. I am enough. I am safe. And all is well. And now just listen to my words here. Start listening to that other voice. Sorry, move my pages here. Start listening to that other voice. It may be small and timid now, but listen for it. The voice that says, I am enough. And feel as you release all the resistance to saying that. As you let go of all the events, memories, and experiences from the past that have been keeping you stuck, all the old tapes, rewrite them now with these 3 words, I am enough. Feel that in your body. Feel those words written in every cell of your body. See those words written over every memory, every past experience, every negative emotion. See it, feel it, be it. I am enough. And feel how good it feels in your body to recognize this truth, to acknowledge this truth. I am enough. And you can relax your hands, and we'll take a sigh of relief here. So small breath in through the nose, larger breath in, and then with your mouth closed. Let's do another sigh of relief on this one. So small breath in through the nose, larger breath in through the nose, and then with lips closed. Okay. And now we'll check in and we'll notice. Listening to that voice again, tuning back in, we're going to put that phrase in there and just see how strong it is now. I am not enough. And feel that in your body and rate the truth of it now. And we will see what has changed for you. If you want to put that in the chat. So we started with some people at 9. Someone started at a 4, but let's see what's happened now after this script. Wonderful. So we've gone from a 9 to a 4. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. If you find from a 6 to a 3, wonderful. If you find that the number increases, and it does happen sometimes, what I have been trained to understand this is that when we get on the, right over the target, so to speak, when we get to it, the body can have even more of a response. So you're kind of like becoming aware of the reality of what those words actually mean. So you could go a little bit increased, maybe the first few parts of the round, and then it can decrease after that, or even after the end of the round. So I will include this. Yeah, fabulous. So from a 4 to a 2. So this happened that fast, just a few minutes. This can change the way your life goes from here on out when you get this one, when you get yourself free of this limiting belief. Thank you for joining in on that, and send yourself some appreciation for doing that. We are in this together, and I do appreciate that you had the willingness and the ability to join in on that. Yes, feeling relaxed, feeling different, right? It's a different way of seeing the world. And this is what I wanted to say. I said this at the beginning. I'm going to say it again. We cannot change the people out there. We can change here. But by doing that, we are affecting the rest of our world, because how do we interact with it now? If I come into the world feeling, I am enough, I'm going to do different things. I'm going to act differently. I'm going to behave differently. I'm going to use different words, right? So I am affecting change by looking inward. This is the time for us to take charge of ourselves. No one's coming to save us. Sorry about that. No one's coming to save us. We are the authorities. We are the authors of our lives. It is time for us to take charge and trust ourselves. And this is a good first step to get that not enoughness like done. We're done with that, so that we can trust ourselves and our body and how we feel. And when we release these things, intuition becomes more available. Intuition is one of those things that when we're in a trauma reflex, we don't really have access to it. So the more we release these things, the easier it will be to access our intuition. Yes, stepping into our power, exactly. And I mentioned this in the last episode, that when we find expansion, and you may notice your body feels softer, feels relaxed, more relaxed, that's expansion. When we find expansion, that is where the ambient energy, which is all around us and connects everything, and it's in and through us. When we have expansion, that energy can make its way in, and now we can create from there. So we can use that energy for ourselves to create from. All right. One of the things that I would say differentiates us from machines, robots, this whole thing about AI, it's a wonderful technology and we can use it to our advantage. But the difference between us and robots, we care. Robots don't care. We care. So we will never be taken over by robots if we can get to the root of our care and caring for the self, knowing that we are enough, knowing that we have value and worthiness, and we deserve all the good things for ourselves in this life, will help us to care for ourselves. And when we care for ourselves, we can care for others too. It's the same part of the brain. So cool. The insula. When we notice ourselves, we notice others. And that's a really beautiful aspect of human brain capacity. What else do I want to say? I think that's about it. Yeah. So thank you so much for being here today. And again, send yourself some appreciation for doing so. I'm Pamela Stokes, and this has been Move Into Coherence. And I'll see you next week at 11:11. And I think it's a good time to do a little heart coherence on our way out, and I'm going to ring my bells as we do that. So these are the Tibetan bells that I received as a gift from being in the Brave Thinking Masters group. Yes. So as we listen to the bells, we'll go into heart coherence. So we're bringing our awareness into our heart, just noticing your heart, if it helps you to put your hand there, and doing heart coherence after EFT tapping can really be nice for the subconscious mind to know it's safe to receive this new information. So we're noticing the heart, and we're going to slow our breath down a little slower, a little deeper than usual. And we'll just end as we tune out. I'll have the bells ringing and you can just continue your heart coherence. Thank you all so much. See you next time. Take it easy.